Hello, everyone. This is your host, Manoj Tandon. Welcome to another episode of Dark Rhiino Security Confidential. We're going to have another great guest today, but before I introduce her, I got to remind you, please hit the like and subscribe button. I know you're probably tired of hearing it, but it helps us out and it allows us to bring you great content. Now, today we're honored to have Stacey Champagne join us. Stacey, for those of you who may not have run into her, she is all over the place in the world of cybersecurity, but she is the founder and CEO of Hacker and Heels. Okay, and it's a community dedicated to advancing women in cybersecurity through coaching, courses, and events. Okay, prior to that, she's been in the Fortune 500 industry for a long time in various roles in cybersecurity, managing insider risk management, security investigations, doing program management, has a ton of experience in the cybersecurity field. She's been recognized as the 2024 SANS Diversity Champion of the Year finalist and a 2024 Cybersecurity Woman of the World Top 20 honoree. And in her spare time, she's found many degrees and certifications. But we're honored to have you, Stacey. Thank you for joining us on Security Confidential today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited for this conversation.
Hey, thank you. So with that, we all want to know, how did you start in cybersecurity, or where were the beginnings of your career? What's your background here?
Sure. So the short answer is no, I did not start in cybersecurity. It was not the thing that I did when I graduated from my undergrad. In fact, my degree was in graphic design with a minor in business. And I also earned an undergraduate certificate in product innovation. So if you looked just at that one line in my resume, you would think that I was, off in design and in the arts. And for a period, I was a visual information specialist for an intelligence community agency. And the way I got into that was, and trust me, this will all make sense once it all comes together.
Please, this is intriguing.
Is that
you got our attention.
I met a recruiter at a high school robotics world championship. So I was at the world championship for the first robotics competition program. For those who are unfamiliar with it, it's a program where that high school students get 6 weeks and a kit of parts to build a robot to basically compete in what could be described as a little like sports game, 3-on-3. There's teams, there's alliances, there's fanfare. It was held at the Georgia Dome, like big deal type thing. Tons and tons of fun. Really, really good program for helping to inspire, teenagers and kids into, getting into STEM careers, right?
Okay.
So at that event, this agency was recruiting. I kind of shrugged it off at first and said, oh, well, you wouldn't possibly want me because I'm not going to school for engineering. I'm going to go to school for graphic design. And they were like, well, we need all sorts of people at our agency. And that's true, right? Like with any given company, you need all sorts of people to do the financing, to do the HR, to do the design and marketing and whatnot. And so I was like, okay, well, actually, this sounds kind of cool. And how much are you going to pay me out the gate? Oh, you're going to pay me like $70,000 a year. And I'm a high school student in New Hampshire. Like, well, you hear that money and you're like, oh, okay. Like I should go for this. Right. Like, and so I did. And everything that I did from there forward was with that goal in mind. And I got it. Like I was I went to the #1 public school for graphic design where they recruited from. And then I was the only person. There was one internship spot to be at that agency in that office. And I got that. And then from there, I made it so that I could continue to work with them guaranteed by switching into their grad scholar program. I had no plans to go to grad school after undergrad, but because of the way, as everyone's learning how the government works, because of the way the government works, they didn't have a hiring billet at the time of my graduation, but they did have a spot in this grad scholar program. So I could just switch into the grad scholar program, continue working for them and with them, and then also get my grad school mostly paid for and get paid to go to grad school. And so that is the point where I pivoted into cybersecurity, specifically because I realized at that moment that I did not want to keep doing design better for another, 20, 30, however long my career was going to be, right? Like there's once you learn how to do graphic design, like, yeah, you can kind of like, the technology changes, Adobe gets new updates, like whatever it might be, but
Yeah.
intellectually, it's not super stimulating anymore. And from a career trajectory, once I was in that agency, I was learning about all these other cool things that people were doing. And that inspired me to be like, well, actually, I'm kind of intrigued about all this cybercrime stuff and the cyber terrorism type things that are going on because, I'm designing these reports, but as I'm designing the reports, I get to read the
Yeah.
intelligence. And it just all sounded super cool. And I wanted to get involved in that. So I'm really good at like piecing together opportunities. And so that's where it just all added up, where it's like, okay, I need to go to grad school. Okay, I need to also figure out how to, breathe new life into my career and where I'm going. And I want to make more money. And I can't afford to live in Northern Virginia on
Wow.
what they were paying me and all that kind of stuff. So like,
Yeah,
let me
70
use
grand a
that
year is not going to go
opportunity.
very far in Northern Virginia.
Yeah, exactly.
I
So
mean, that's
so
barely
that's
rent.
when I switched. Yep. Yeah. And
So
then and then from there it just it worked out where once I was graduating, I went and got my master's in security and resilience studies, focused on cyber policy. I could have gone back to the agency, but a certain Fortune 500 came knocking and wanted to offer me twice the amount of money and a significant signing bonus that would cover me paying back the tuition. And so I went that way, right? And I think that is just like one of just the many things that kind of highlights who I am as a person because like I basically took this thing that I just spent several minutes telling you about how it was so important to me. I was so dedicated in doing it. It was my absolute goal. I got it. I thought I was going to be a lifer there at that agency. And then, the money and opportunity came knocking. And instead of getting wrapped up in this, like, cheating my identity that I've built for myself so far, I was like, no, actually, okay, I'm going to go pivot. I'm going to go pivot. I'm going to go do that. And I'm going to go in that direction. And like, yeah, I'm leaving behind everything I said that I wanted to do, but like at the same time, like I would be dumb to turn down this incredible opportunity going in the other direction. And so many people in life, like they stick with the sure thing. They stick with what they know.
Yep.
They stay where they've got that knowledge and support type thing. And I watch so many people give up on just these incredible opportunities that they would benefit so immensely from if they just picked up the courage to go try something new and do something different.
And that's something that could not be taught. That's something
That can
that
only be experienced, really.
that's exactly
Mm-hmm.
correct. And either you're going to push yourself in that direction or you're not. And we've had that from a few people here who are in the business of trying to help other folks build their career. But it seems like most things that are worth learning can't be taught. And this is a great example of it, where you're willing to pivot and say, well, I'm not just a designer. And yeah, I am going to go into cybersecurity, which brings us to the question of your work in the Fortune 500. And you use the term resiliency. So I got to ask this, what's you see in the news every day, a big name that got hacked, right? And the running joke is either you will get hacked or you've been hacked and you don't know it, right?
Yep.
Or you are just delusional in some way. And either way, things are going to still go south for you. So why are these, and I'm being very sarcastic with this, but why are cybersecurity programs, what is causing their lack of effectivity in some of these organizations that have all the money in the world?
Yeah. I would attribute it to a little thing that I have been kind of crafting lately, coining the term of the empathy protocol or the lack thereof.
Okay.
So what we're seeing in organizations, look, they have the money. They have the money, they have the tech, they even have smart people staffing their cybersecurity teams. But the tech and the technical talent is not enough given the human connection that cybersecurity needs to bridge with an organization's, other business partners, with their clients, their customers, with their shareholders. So, yeah, we've got a lot of really technically capable, certified to the nines
Yep.
individuals and the super impressive and sophisticated, EDR technology or whatnot. But what we don't have and what we are severely lacking in so many of these companies is good leadership. And good leadership is not synonymous with the most technical person in the room.
Okay.
Truly, to have good leadership and to become a good leader is to make a shift from, being the end all know all expert on any given thing to becoming more of someone in service of amplifying people's talents and going out there and understanding the business's need and understanding what its customers go through to use a product and what it might mean for them if and when security is inserted into those user experiences. That
And you'll get
is
people, technical people, say that's not in my job description. I know cybersecurity. I can tell you how to build a security architecture. Now
that's
you want
fine
me,
if it's
Stacey, to
not
run, you want me to understand the business? What a novel concept.
right. And so it becomes the question of like, yeah, that's not in your job description, but should it be? I would argue yes.
Would most technical people not have a hard time bridging that gap themselves? Because it's a different mindset and thinking from in the to look at the user experience, what they're going through and why they do it because the business demands it.
It is certainly a skill, but it is one that can be learned. And look, these are all very smart and technically talented people. If they can put their learning brains, as much as they put towards learning the technical side of things, as learning some of these leadership skills and communication and understanding, like I am confident these people are smart and capable enough to participate and gain some level of competency in those kinds of areas. Now, does that mean that everybody is suited for being in leadership positions that really truly require command of those types of skills? No. But at even the practitioner level, there should be some sort of time spent to fostering some of these different leadership competencies.
How do you create the environment to do that so that you are fostering those things? How do you motivate folks who are very comfortable with technical
Yeah.
aspects?
Well, we got to make space for it. And making space for it can be really difficult when you're in an environment that is constantly changing and demanding that you stay on top of implementing or changing policies, changing firewall rules, changing the operating systems, the versions of the application, stuff like that. Like so much is changing and there's so much that we in security have to be top of all the time. And so it's totally understandable if people find it challenging to make time to learn these kinds of things. Now, I would argue that, yeah, but you still make time to stay on top of all the tech stuff. So can we just apply that over to these other things, right? But really, it starts with the security team really having a strong relationship with the other facets of the business to appropriately strategize and plan ahead and allocate their bandwidth in such a way that provides the space for continuous training and education and learning and practicing of these skills, right? So what I'm saying is that like a lot of the leadership itself, the people who dictate what our practitioners spend their days and time on, like they themselves don't know how to say no. They don't know how to say no. They don't know how to establish healthy boundaries. They don't know how to properly plan a quarter or resource allocation of their teams in a way that doesn't overburden them. And so we have to really work with either work with the leaders that are in those leadership positions now to get those skills, or we need new leaders in those positions. And I would argue that there are quite a few people in positions of leadership right now who, potentially, I call it, my husband enjoys this term too. I call it compassionate realignment, right? It's just that, your skill set does not align with the thing that you have been assigned to do. But that's not to say that like you would be more effective and more fulfilled if we actually got you into the thing that is aligned with what you're good at, right? Like there are so many leaders that I see that are in leadership positions. A lot of people are realizing, oh crap, again, the technical does not equal leadership capability, and now they're in a tight spot, right? Like oh my gosh, I feel for them. What do they do when they realize leadership is not for me, right? Like there is no compassionate off ramp to this kinds of thing. It just looks like failure, and people talk about it like failure, right? And so we need to fix that so we can get people in the roles that they're supposed to be in. And then we do have to really up our valuation of the leadership skills when it comes to cybersecurity.
Now you're also playing with the X factor called ego, right? Because if most people who are in a role, even if they confide in themselves that they're not the best at it, will never really be comfortable in a public admission or any kind of an action that would acknowledge that, oh, see,
Yeah, absolutely. Because we haven't, as an industry and as a society, we haven't made it safe to fail. We talk about it all. Oh yes, please fail. Oh, we want you to try and fail. And like, we support you, but like, do it in action and see what happens, right? Like we
CISO
say
is the
one
shortest
thing and we
lived
do
position,
another.
right, Stacey? CISOs, what do they live? 18 months typically in a company?
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah. And
fail in that role. You're gone.
yes. And I would say that there are, potentially, I mean, we could get into a whole other debate about CISOs and what qualifies them to be a CISO and their leadership styles and what's influencing them and stuff like that. So as a CISO, yes, there is like high turnover. There's high turnover in all of cybersecurity right now. And I mean, really, that I would tie back to what I was talking about when it comes to boundaries, right? It's these teams inability to appropriately scope and plan their work and how to push back when things are and expectations are unreasonable, right? There's so many times that I've witnessed in organizations where it's like, yeah, we're all about security until it inconveniences someone, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, never mind. Like we're just going to let it happen. We're just going to do it. We're just going to, allow our landscape to shift in such a way that's going to open us up to more work on the security side of things, instead of like truly having a conversation about it. And I think that's what's most frustrating. It's not about the yes or the no, the like adding more work or whatnot. It's about the absence of conversation. Like there are so many places I've observed that like things could be solved if two people just talked to each other, and they're not doing that.
Can you exemplify? Give us a story.
Yeah. Um, I would say that like one example I have is that um there was like a duplication of effort of work, right? So one team was doing this one kind of work, and then there was another team that was doing the same kind of work, and but there was all of this strife between the two entities because one entity was concerned about kind of about their livelihood, right? It's like, this provides a lot of work for us. If we pass this off to the other team, what are we going to do? Who are we going to be? Like, will I still have a job, right? Like that kind of existential crisis. Meanwhile, the other team, based off of their scope of work and what they were doing, like it made much more logical sense for them to own that responsibility, right? And so instead of us looking at the situation of like, okay, this isn't about me and you, my team, your team, this is about what's best for the company, we just avoided the conversation. We duplicated the work, we spent the extra money, right? But then once we finally started having the conversation, we come to realize that, like, oh yeah, that other team, they are more equipped, better equipped to do this work. And also, by having them do that work, here's all this other work that would actually be a more effective use of our time and our talent to be taken care of, that would truly drive down risk that we weren't even talking about because I was so scared, or this team was so scared about, giving this work off to the other team, what would be left for them, right? And so it's that, like, so many teams in companies are operating in this like survival zero sum mentality, and some of that is born from a lack of, honestly, a lack of understanding of what their purpose is. Why am I even here in this organization? What is my purpose? What am I supposed to be actually doing? We get caught up in like, minutia type work that really doesn't move the needle, but it feels like it gives us purpose, when actually that's not it. Our purpose is actually something bigger, more complex, greater than that. But that goes back to the, lacking leaders who really can see the long game, who can see the whole picture and do that, draw out that strategy.
So, Stacey, it sounds like a lot of these folks could benefit from a little bit of mentoring and coaching.
Yeah.
And they are two distinctly different things, which
Yes.
You have talked about. So tell us a little bit of what is the difference between mentoring and coaching, first off, and then we'll get into the rest of this on how to improve these folks.
Yeah. So mentoring versus coaching. So many programs, so many nonprofits and whatnot, they promote all these mentorship programs, right? The key about mentorship is that what essentially happens in that relationship is the mentor is sharing what worked for them to get them where they are today. So, we're in a mentoring relationship. I'm telling you about how I worked for this agency, and then I went to grad school, and like all these kinds of things. And what you're taking away as a mentee is basically trying to decide what this person is sharing do I want to attempt to emulate myself, right? Like it's hearing someone else talk about their journey and their experiences and the decisions they made to provide inspiration to what you might do or how you might direct your career. That's different from coaching.
Okay.
Where that in a coaching relationship, honestly, the coach doesn't talk a whole lot. The coach is really there to ask guiding questions to help you work through what you know to be the best course of action for yourself, given your own knowledge and life experiences. So a coach is going to ask you open-ended questions, and instead of them telling you do this, do that, try these 5 things, the coach is leaving it up to you. You're the one who's going to come up with the ideas. And by doing that, it is far more likely that you will be successful in actually achieving whatever the goal is that you might be seeking out a mentor or a coach for. With coaching, because you're the one coming up with the plan, like, you're far more bought into actually executing on it than someone telling you what to do. Do you like being told what to do?
No, but I am told
No.
what to do all the time by somewhere or the other. It's just part of the role.
Yeah, well, yes, and there's a time and place for that, right? And
Right.
so
I
and
mean,
so specifically with coaching, like, people usually approach coaching because they want to level up. They want to, like, achieve something that they haven't achieved before, do something they've never done, right? And so a lot of what plays into that is like that level of motivation, right? And so um you know people who come to coaching and expect to just be told 5 things to do. Before I was ever trained as a certified professional coach, like, I thought that was what you did, right? Like, I thought
okay.
as a coach, like, you go and you tell them what to do and then they do it type thing. You know how many people in those, like, relationships that I've had with people before getting trained and everything, who would, like, I would tell them all this stuff and then they would go and do none of it? Like, all of them. Like, so few. In
Wow.
fact, I actually
Not even
remember
one?
I don't think so. In fact, I remember a specific time where I've, like, talked with a mentor and they were like, okay, do these couple of things. And I didn't do it. So, like, I
So
even understand firsthand, like, it's just not, you don't have the skin in the game when it's someone else telling you what to do. You're far more likely to follow through on something that you yourself declare you're going to do.
now, but at the same time, so that's a little enlightening, because I would have thought, to me, like a coach, when I think of a coach, I'm thinking of athletic coaches. They're saying, you're going to run 4x100s. Your goal is to do it in this time. Today we're doing this, this, and this, right? Let's see what it comes out to be. What you're saying is, no, the athlete should actually be thinking that's their goal. Now, what are some of their ideas on how to get there? Which is vastly different, actually, right? Then
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like, yes, you can draw some parallels to sports coaching and whatnot, but I would say it is also still slightly different, right? Um, in that, with coaching, where I see the connection is that, especially if you're, like, working with high performing athletes, like, they know how to play the game.
right,
You don't have to teach them to play the game at that point. They already know how to do that. You don't have to tell
right.
them. But what they do need help with is their mindset of how they're approaching the game and how they're working with other people on the team and those relationships and stuff like that. And what they should prioritize and whether they should rest or whether they should train or whatever. Like, those are the kinds of things that um, I'm thinking of this, and I could be completely off base on what exactly a high performing coach does, but I would say that I just finished watching Running Point on Netflix, which is
Okay.
such a great show, and that was all about, like, a sports team and basketball and everything, and so that's kind of what I'm basing this on. Um, but with coaching, and specifically, like, career coaching or executive coaching, it's the same kind of thing. Like, how to do cybersecurity.
Where does one delineate transferring from a mentorship to a coach, or when do you want to use each one in your career progress?
Yeah, so if you are considering working with a coach, where you want to be is in a position where you're ready to take action and be active. Mentorship is great for inspiration, for, like, getting an idea of, like, oh, I might try this, or it could be cool to go in that direction. Um, but it's a very passive experience, right? With mentorship, of just getting that inspiration. But as I, explained and illustrated with coaching, like, when you're working with a coach, the coach is just asking questions. You're doing the work, you're doing the answering, you're doing the thinking and the planning and all of that. And so when you work with a coach, you should have a particular goal in mind, something you want to achieve, and be ready to do things in your life to make measured progress towards that goal, right? It can't be, you can't be at a point where it's like, yeah, I want to, do XYZ, but I'm not willing to, carve out the time, carve out the resources, go have the conversations or do whatever. Like, I just want it to happen to me. And something I was thinking of too is just how, with coaching, the way that you can tell the difference between like a coach who truly gets what the philosophy and the values of coaching are versus one who may not be actually like trained in being a professional coach is ultimately like, I want there to be an end. Like, I want there to be an end because I want you to have been successful. Together we helped you achieve the thing that you wanted to achieve. And along the way, we helped cultivate new skills in you where that you're able to see and define your own path without my help going forward, right? Like,
Yeah.
if a coach is trying to, it's almost like with therapy too. Like, if you're on a perpetual payment plan with this person and you're depending on them to tell you what to do, like that ultimately, one, is not the fundamental philosophy and intent of coaching, and two, like, really doesn't help you in the long run, right? Because now you're just outsourcing your decision making and your reliance on another person versus actually learning how to, carve out and identify what you need, what you want, what's the right path for you.
So, given that, that's going to be a tall order. So, a coach should be someone who's willing to put themselves out of work.
Yeah.
It makes all the sense. But people are probably thinking, well, like you were saying in that example before, what am I going to do if all my clients go away? Uh,
Well, there will
separate.
always be new clients.
They'll
There will
always
always be
be.
new clients. There will always be new goals. And, there'll be, especially if you worked with a coach in the past, like, you'll learn through the experience that there will be times again in the future where you might want to re-engage with a coach again to, help with something else or a new goal or some way in which your life has changed or pivoted, right? And so I'm not concerned about people like not coming back to me eventually, because I know from working with coaches that that's what I'm compelled to do, because I see the immense value in engaging with one at the right time, right? And again, the right time and the right point in your life and your career is everything, because if you're overwhelmed with a lot of other stuff, like, yes, a coach can help you through that, but it it truly will not be an effective use of your time or my time if you're not willing to kind of like put the stake in the ground and say that, like, this is the thing I'm going to prioritize.
Well, so where do you find a great coach, and what questions do you ask to determine if they are a great coach?
Yeah. So there are a lot of different training programs and credentialing programs around coaching that are out there. Um, the International Coaching Federation does provide some sort of standardization of expectations of coaching philosophy and approach. So you could look for someone who is either an ICF accredited coach or ICF credentialed, or someone who has gone through an ICF accredited coaching program. And you can look that up on their website. They'll list all the schools and whatnot. So like, I personally went through an ICF accredited program, the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, IPEC. That was a 10-month, really, it kind of took me almost like a year of a program to do, where that we had, weekend long, like virtual training sessions. I had to do peer coaching. I had to do mentor coaching. I had to do so many hours of webinars and stuff like that. So I lay that all out to paint the picture of like, if you are considering working with a coach who has done nothing but simply state that they are now coaching you, like, that's a red flag to me. I have learned through my experience in becoming a certified professional coach that there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. And if you are doing it the wrong way, you are at risk at inflicting psychological harm on individuals. It's not as um as concerning as a therapist operating without certain training or credentialing, but I would say that it is up there in just regards to like we have to be really careful in how we go about coaching people and calling ourselves coaching if we haven't necessarily gone through the training. And it's not something that I can just explain in this podcast in 2 short minutes, right? Like, just go do the training, like go actually put yourself through a accredited program. And if you're looking for a coach, look for someone who has gone through some sort of coaching training program. The other thing that I would like watch out for or ask, or red flags or whatever, is like coaches that make promises to you, like, work with me and you'll get that 6-figure job, or you'll get that promotion, or you'll do these things, right? Like, the way that coaching works, I can't promise anything. Like, I can promise you my time and attention and the exercise of valuable coaching tools and exercise throughout our conversation, but like, whether or not you're successful through this coaching experience is going to be almost entirely on you. And then the other thing too is when potentially like getting trapped into really expensive like packages that there's, when you look at the fine print, there's no easy way out of it, right? So like right now what I do is I do pay what you can coaching. So I have like a minimum price that people would have to pay, but generally speaking, I offer the range based off of like what coaches usually typically get paid and what my like floor is for pricing. And you can choose within that. And then I send you a link, and you pay, and if you to schedule the session and everything. And if you find value in my coaching after that session and you want to sign up again, great. You have the link, you have the access to the calendar. If you find that it's not moving you towards your goal, well, that's fine too. You don't have to schedule again, right? Like, I don't trap people into a 3-month package with X amount of dollars and you can't get refunds or whatever, right? Like that, right? Now, I will say that there is a certain understanding and rationale why people do offer coaching packages. Okay. It is because you're not going to change the world in one session, right? It is going to take multiple sessions to make progress in whatever goal you're coming to coaching in. And the financial part of it does provide a level of accountability that motivates people to honor their commitment that they've ultimately made to themselves in showing up. And also too, like, to be coach trained and to practice and all of this, like, all of this knowledge and experience comes over time, and it also comes with a lot of money. And so, it's the same reason why you pay your plumber a large amount of money for a 5-minute fix, right? And so there is that. But so I'm not saying package is like a red flag. It's more like a yellow flag. Like, look at the terms and see, like, do they offer, hey, if after your first 3 sessions you're not feeling it, then they'll refund the balance of they'll prorate and refund, right? Like, things like that kind of show like, okay, if there's just not a good fit or whatever it might be, there is a way out of it, type thing. So watch out for all those kinds of things if you're looking at coaching. Like, really try to focus on the ones that you can make a career. And I think there are some people who are really fantastic coaches who it is their career, but also watch out for that and understand, like, just like with anything in life, like, what is the motivation behind this person being a coach with you in the first place?
Great advice. I didn't know some of these things, and I can personally tell you that's interesting. I learned something new today. Only have we're at the hour. We wanted to give you a minute to plug whatever you would like. What would you like our audience to know about?
Sure. So one of the best ways that if you are interested in coaching and you do want to work with me, um, I have the Hacker and Heels Insiders community, and through that, it's a monthly membership community. We have study groups where currently we have a cohort of women working through CISSP certification. We have monthly connection calls with individuals who are both from within our industry and outside of our industry that provide such incredible, they share their incredible knowledge, their experience, and most importantly, like tools and techniques for really advancing in this industry. And you get the chance to you get some chance to meet them. Like these are almost like exclusive little things where like if you saw them at a conference, like they'd be surrounded with dozens of people, but you get to see them at a connection call and have pretty small and intimate conversations with them. But another key component of the Insiders membership that connects to coaching is that I offer group coaching within the membership community. So if you are kind of curious about like what coaching is like, and you wanted an easy entry point to that, becoming an Insiders member and partaking in the group coaching experience that we offer through there, you can get a taste for it. And then if you are interested there forward, or if you already know that like I'm committed, I want to work with you, let's do this pay what you can coaching type thing, you can reach out to me and we can go through all of that. But yeah, that is really like, I cannot stress this enough. Like I get so many people who will like reach out to me on LinkedIn and they'll ask like, can you hop on a call, or can you mentor me, be my mentor, or whatever it might be. And out of respect for the community that I've created with Hacker and Heels Insiders, and their dedication to their careers by making that really that financial commitment to be part of this community, I prioritize my time with them. So like when you sign up for the Hacker and Heels community, what you're doing is demonstrating not just a commitment to yourself, but a commitment to the compensation and recognition of women's work and value, in that like my time is finite and it has value, right? And so yes, I want to help you, but out of respect for my community who demonstrates that recognition and respect of my time and energy and value, like go into that community and I promise you, you are a keyboard stroke away from you can ask anything and everything you want. I am happy to engage with you in there. And like truly you could just ask all the women who are in there right now. Like I have helped multiple women get new job opportunities, help them talk through their promotion, negotiation, like all that kind of stuff. Just get in there, and I promise you that I'd love to help you out, and all of those women would love to help you out too, and really experience that power of community as well.
That sounds fantastic. We'll put the links in the show notes for that. And keep up the great work, Stacey. It's you're very passionate about it, and that's a huge key to success. It's obvious you enjoy what you do. And
I do enjoy what I'm doing, and also like I think that what I enjoy about cybersecurity is it goes so beyond the technical, and yet we tend to, as an industry, over index on boosting the like technically competent people. And that's not I should say that's not to say I'm not technically, I mean, hello, I'm leading an incident response team, right? But also too, like let's celebrate the relationships more and the passion for truly caring for each other in this industry more. And I think, I mean, that's what ultimately like in the short term, your technical talent will get you a decent distance, but what will truly help you go far in cybersecurity and for this industry to be successful is if we all lean into the the empathy and the caring about one another more.
That is a great ending point, Stacey. We're at the hour. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank
I would
you.
love to have you back sometime. Whenever you're ready. You want another big announcement, please let us know. I think this whole mentoring and coaching is a very interesting field, and finding the right person like you could make a big difference in someone. So thank you again for what you're doing, and appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you. Happy to be back anytime. We'll make it happen.
All right. Fantastic. Take care.